Welcome to part 3 of our chapter on socialization. In this chapter, we'll focus on agents of socialization. We'll look at two types of agents of socialization. The first one is social group agents, and secondly is institutional agents. So how human beings learn to think, how to behave, to act. We learn all of this through agent of socialization. So these are people or groups that influence our self-concept, our attitudes, our behaviors, or other orientations toward life. Major agents of socializations include family, religion, daycare, peer groups, sports, in our workplace. So when people move from one place, job, and or life situation to another, they often have to undergo re-socialization, which is a process of learning new norms, values, attitudes, and behaviors. So with those definitions, let's go ahead and look at closely at social group agents. So our family, particularly our parents, right? They are the first agent of socialization most of us encounter when we enter this world. So parents, often they're unaware of what they're doing, but they do send subtle messages to their children about society's expectations for them, particularly when it comes to sex or gender. So for example, research by Melvin Cohn, K-O-H-N, his research suggests that there are social class and occupational differences in child rearing. So the main concern of working class parents, for example, is that their children's outward conformity, right, is the most important for working class parents. While middle class parents, they have a greater concern for the motivations of their children's behavior. So the type of job held by the parent is also a factor. The more closely supervised a job is, the more likely the parent is to insist on outward conformity. So as children grow older, they will become exposed to peer groups, right? These are people who are similar in age and social status and who share similar interests. So next to a family, peer groups are probably the most powerful socializing force in our society. So research by Patricia and Peter Adler have documented how elementary age children separate themselves by sex and develop their own worlds and norms. They found that popular boys were athletic, cool, and tough, whereas popular girls depended on a family background, physical appearance, and the ability to attract popular boys. So it is almost impossible to go against a peer group whose cardinal rule is to conform or be rejected. As a result, the standards of peer groups tend to dominate our lives. Next, let's look at institutional agents. We'll look at, first of all, schools. So schools serve many manifest as well as intended functions for society, including teaching skills and values thought to be appropriate. So school also have several latent or unintended function as well. So for example, the hidden curriculum, right, which is informal teaching done by school. So again, school intended to teach students not just the content of subject matter, but it also indirectly teach students about other things that was again unintended by the function of the school. So this could be, for example, fashion, right, what to wear, or how to talk to other people, how to be popular. So that is the unintended or latent functions of schools. So at school, children are often placed outside the direct control of friends and relatives and exposed to new values and ways of looking at the world. They learn universality, or what the same rules apply to everyone. So school also have a quarter curriculum, right, where students are taught by one another outside the classroom. Unfortunately, these are often not positive values, such as how to have to be popular, but that may include entail, for example, bullying someone, right? So that may not be very healthy. So this is again called core curriculum, activities or lessons that students learn outside of the classroom space. So, I want to give you an example of a hidden, more specific example of a hidden curriculum, in which value is not explicitly taught but inherent in school activity. So, for example, the wording of stories, right, may carry messages of patriotism and democracy. So, by teaching that our economic system is just, schools may teach children to believe that problems such as poverty are never caused by oppression and exploitation. So again, this is a hidden curriculum in our school, and especially when in elementary schools. So conflict theorists, and again, this is one of the major theoretical branch in sociology, along with SI, symbolic interactionists, and functionalists. So conflict theorists note that schools teach children to take their place in the workforce. Children of the wealthy to go to private schools where they acquire the skills and values appropriate to their eventual higher position, while children of working class parents attend public schools where they are rarely placed in college prep classes. So that's a perspective of conflict theorists, and as you can see, they emphasize competition, right? Conflicts between these two groups, and in this case, it's the wealthy, or children of the wealthy, and children of the poor. So, workplace is also a major agent of socialization, particularly for adults. And this is occur, on the job. So, from our job, right, we learn not only skills, but also matching attitudes and values. We may engage in anticipatory socialization, learning to play a role before actually entering into it, and enabling us to gradually identify with the role. Religion also plays a major role in the socialization of most Americans, even if they are not raised in a religious family. Religion especially influences morality, but also ideas about dress, speech, and manners that are appropriate. The government, right, is a huge institutional agent, and all of us, have, come in some form of, one way or another, interacted with the government. The government, shape the ways in which we see ourselves and how we relate to each other. So one of the ways in which that it does this is by categorizing people into different roles, or giving us certain labels for different stages of our lives, such as being a minor versus being an adult, being a senior, being a taxpayer, and so on. So here I've included a video of how we're socialized to different genders, and particularly how this is done by Disney movies. So go ahead and stop our lecture video so you can watch this video. And I'm also including here a video from South Park that is a satire. So again, I want to talk that this is a satire about gender socialization in our society. Again, keep in mind that this is a satire. Alright, so that concludes our part 3 of our chapter on socialization.